Hey, class, I'm not going to lie. I did not expect to have an e-learning day today. I don't mind it though. Though I will say for this class, it's going to make things a little tougher. Um, Obviously, we're off today. I'm guessing we're going to be off tomorrow, and then Friday's up in the air. And really getting to one of our more important lessons, which is our financial plan of our business plan. Within this plan, there's two important aspects we're going to look at. We're going to look at startup costs. All right. Then we're going to look at cash flow. And since we are not going to be here and we need to really get this done because we only have a week left after this week, I figure I'd make a video and kind of explain these things to you. I'll be honest, you can try to make it up if you want to and not watch this, but I think you're going to struggle really when you start working on what these things are. What is cash flow? How do I do this? What startup cost should I be looking at? So let's just jump into it. All right. Let me explain kind of what we're doing. All right. So your financial plan. All right. So let me move my head up here. We talked about startup costs and entrepreneurship one. Some of you did not take entrepreneurship one, so this is going to be a completely kind of new concept for you. All right. So startup costs are important because it shows what you need, what money you need for your business. And you really need to look at the details of that, right? I mean, it's easy to say, oh, I just need like a computer and, pens and paper, or I need this machine to get my business started, or I need this employee to help me code this app, right? But there's a lot more that goes into a business than just that. All right. So remember all the little things, right? If you're getting an office, remember like the waste baskets, right? Remember the toilet paper, remember the paper and all the things that go in that you would really need. If you're working at home, think about some of the things that you would need, right? A new computer. What equipment do you need at home to kind of help separate your house from your office? So all these things are things that you will need to really come up with what your startup costs would be. All right. A big thing we say in business is under promise, over deliver. And what that means is we kind of want to ask for more than we need, right? We want to then not have to use all that money, right? I mean, once you ask for money from an investor, it's a one-time thing. So if you ask for $20,000, but you really need like $30,000, you're probably not going to get that $10,000 from an investor, right? That's just money you lost. So what you want to do is you want to ask for more than you need up front and then not have to use it if you don't have to, right? You can either pay that back or use it for other funds that you might need. Let's go to the next page. So some of the things that you guys need to look at are facility costs, all right? And I'll go to a spreadsheet later and show you where all this will go. But you need to look at a lease deposit, right? So if you are renting a place, which I know some of you are, how much is that rent going to be? A lot of times you have to pay at least 1 or 2 months in advance, all right? So look at your lease deposit. Look at other deposits you might need for utilities, phone services. Tenant improvements are a big one too. So if you are renting a building, again, what some of you are, you're gonna have to do some renovations. You're gonna have to make it look like you want it to look, right? And that's kind of the cool thing about renting um, industrial buildings, right? Because you have that option. You're paying rent to the landlord, but they're gonna let you do what you want to do to it as long as you pay for it. So tenant improvements would be that. Signage would be, do you want signs on the outside of your building? When you go by Kroger and Cabo and all that stuff over there, Sound Springville, right? They have signs on the outside of their building. You know that those buildings are there, right? So a lot of buildings will need signage and other facility costs too, right? You have to pay taxes, all sorts of things. So keep that in mind, especially if you're getting a place. Some of you don't have to worry about that, right? We live in an age, and most businesses are like this now, right? You work from your house. Almost everyone I know now is working from their house. So it's kind of cool. So you have that option, and that's going to obviously save you a lot of money. But you still then need to look at what are the cost of, your house. Are you going to have to pay rent to your parents? Probably not, right? But maybe. What are the utilities that you would spend, right? I talked to Jackson. He said he's running his computer all the time. So his parents are making him pay some of the energy bill, which totally makes sense, right? So what costs in there do you need to think about that you might not be thinking about? Business equipment is a big one. All right. So do you need a vehicle? If you're delivering stuff, maybe, right? If you're going on calls to sell, like say, let's take Liam and Alexa, for example, they are trying to pitch their software to different schools. Are you going to use your personal car? Are you going to get another vehicle that you guys can use to go do that stuff? What office equipment do you need? What furniture do you need? Not only for you, but for your employees. A lot of you guys are going to have to ship things. What kind of shipping material do you need, right? Do you need packaging? Do you need tape? Obviously, printers and things like that you would need. A lot of companies write off their cell phones, right? So your company can pay for your cell phone. They can pay for your computers, things like that, if you're using it for work. And then just office supplies, right? So we kind of talked about it. Pencils, pens, papers, all of that, janitorial supplies, right? You have a bathroom, you're going to need stuff like that. You need to keep your office clean. What supplies you need for shipping? Do you need business cards, things like that? You probably do, right? The design and cost for your website, all of that would be within business supplies and materials. And another thing that a lot of business owners don't think about is you're going to have to pay for an attorney, right? You're going to have some kind of lawyer to help you set up your business. How much is that going to cost? All right. And all of you guys need to do a little bit of research on what that's going to be. For different businesses, it's different things, right? If you're getting a trademark, you're going to need something. You're going to need a lawyer to make sure you file the paperwork the correct way. Same with CPA, right? It can get very tricky to start a business. You need an accountant at least to help you set up the process to make sure you're on the right track. And when you're doing startup costs and you're doing cash flow, a lot of times CPAs can help you get started on the right. I mean, they have been around. They know how to start businesses up. They know what realistic projections look like. So they can kind of help you in that first step, especially. So look at what they would cost, right? Those are not expensive. Lawyers and CPAs are not cheap. Okay. So you're going to have to look at those costs when you're starting this business. And look up business license and permits, right? Depending on what you're doing, you're going to need a different license. I'm thinking about you guys right now in class. I can't think of anyone that would need anything specific, but it's worth looking at, right? And then insurance deposits, right? If you are getting a building, just employee insurance, right? If you hire anyone, you're going to need to have some kind of insurance on them, either workman's comp or whatever. All of that are things that you guys are going to have to look at. So startup costs is the first section. The next section is cash flow. And cash flow is one of the more important things, if not the most important things, that investors are going to look at when they look at your financial sheet. Right. So what cash flow is looking at the money that's going in and out of your business every month. Okay. So what we're going to do for just our class is look at what your first year projections look like. Okay. So we're going to start in January. I'm going to go all the way to December. So you're starting your business. How much do you think you're going to make the first month? Probably not a ton, right? You're just starting out. You don't know what you're doing. So it's probably going to be low. But the more you go, the more you work on, the more you're hopefully going to make. So that's something you need to look at. Another thing you need to look at is what kind of business do you have? Is it a seasonal business? Is it something where people are going to buy it at a certain time of year, right? If you're selling to schools, you're probably going to sell more in the summer, right? Because schools are going to start purchasing all that stuff really now to the time school starts. If you are retail, you're probably going to be more busy in, October, November, right? For the holiday season. So think about where your customers are, who your target market is, when are they more likely to buy, and your revenue is going to be higher in that section or in that month versus other months. Another thing cash flow looks at is what you're spending every month. Okay. So it not only looks at the money coming into your business, the revenue, the sales that you're making from your company, it's also looking at how much you're going to spend, right? So what are your utilities? What's your rent? What's your equipment cost? All of those things. And you have to think about this too. If you're making a product that sells mostly for the holidays, all right? For this, we're going to use Jolin and sale as or product. All right. So say that you guys are really selling these more towards the holiday. People want your candle holder. They're super pumped about it. You're gonna make a lot more money, right? You're gonna make a lot more money those months. You're also gonna have more expensive those months because you're gonna have to hire, or you're gonna have to probably hire more people. You're gonna have to buy more material. Your costs are gonna be higher, so you have to make sure to keep that into account too. Okay. So again, the money coming in every month, the money going out. That can get really tricky. It is where you're going to need a professional eventually, right? If you are really starting these businesses, is something that you would have to spend money on, right? You'd have to spend money on that accountant to kind of look at things and help you out with this. But for this, right, this is just entrepreneurship too. We're kind of going to make our best guesstimates on what that cash flow is going to look like. What I really want to see from your cash flow is thinking about the seasonality of it, right? So if it makes more sense for you to make more a certain time of year that you've thought about that. So I want to see something kind of realistic, right? So you're not making $8 million a year. I mean, that'd be cool, right? If you're selling software that's making you $8 million a month, then go for it. But honestly, something more realistic, right? Look at your prices. Think about how many customers you think you're going to get that month, and kind of go from there. So we're going to look at three parts of the cash flow. So let's kind of reiterate this, okay? So your cash revenues, again, the money that you're bringing in. So another thing to think about when you're doing this is if you're invoicing customers, right? So if you're getting paid by a customer later, which some of you software guys like Jackson and Lily, your group will probably do this. Liam and Alexa, you'll definitely do this, right? You'll probably have to invoice and then get paid later. So keep that in mind that you might have expenses up front that you're not getting paid until the next month or the next month after that. Again, think about what you're selling for. Think about what your price is. Make sure that number is realistic. All right. That's what I want to see in this project. Some of you might not make money, right? And that's totally possible. A lot of people don't make money their first year. Put that down, right? And it's best that like say that you have a product that you have at a low price right now because you want to beat out your competition. This cash flow is really going to show you that you might have to raise your price, right? You might not be able to survive with the price you have. So this is why this is really important. Again, disbursements, you're looking at all the bills that you pay each month. Payments to vendors and suppliers, which would be like your material costs, right? Salaries for employees. If you're hiring people, it's an expensive thing you have to do every month. Marketing and promotion. You have to look at your legal fees. You have to look at your rent. You have to look at your insurance, your utilities, all that. And then you're going to kind of reconcile your revenues versus disbursements. And what that means is how much money you're making or losing a month, right? You're going to take up your total revenue. You're going to subtract that from your disbursements, and you're going to see if you're making money or not. So let's go to the spreadsheet. Okay. So the first one, for those of you who took Entrepreneurship 1, this looks fairly familiar. I changed a few things on it. So you'll put your company name. Then you're going to look at some of your expenses, all right? You guys are going to ask me questions on this. I know I'm going to answer this 18,000 times, but listen, you can change these things, all right? If you're not purchasing a building, remove that line. If you don't have construction, remove that line, right? If you are not purchasing a building or real estate, none of this matters. Don't fill it out. Capital equipment. What furniture do you need? What equipment do you need? Put specifics, all right? So let's use Seth's, for example, all right? Seth is going to buy a machine to help make his picks, all right? Instead of equipment, Seth needs to put the name of that machine. That way we know what it's for. Then you're going to put that in your cost. So again, some of this you might need to add lines, right? You just right click, insert one above, add stuff. That's not a big deal. Location and admin expenses. So if you're not buying a building and you're leasing something, what's your rental cost? How much do you have to pay up front? All of you guys should have legal and accounting fees. You all need to figure that out. Insurance. Do you have to pay insurance on anything? If you are paying for salaries, 3 months. That's what I want to see in this thing. 3 months salary for every employee. That way you pay them up front. That way if your business doesn't do well right away, you have money to pay your employees. You need that, right? And anything else. Opening inventory would be how much do you need, right? So David and Cody, you guys are making your shirts, your keychains. How much do you need before your business starts? That way you hit the ground running. So how many picks do you need? Luke and Justin, how many going hots are we having ready to go right off the bat? This is what you would need to put in opening inventory. And finally, advertising and promotional expenses. How are you advertising? Is there a sign going outside? Are you printing? Are you traveling to different places? I had one group last year put $10,000 in travel and entertainment. They said they were going to go out to different shows and advertise. Don't do that. All right. You don't want to do that. But if you're advertising, how are you advertising? Is it social media advertising? What kind of social media? Things like that. And then anything else you could think of that you might want to put, you can put another. All right. So that is one. The other is cash flow. All right. And this is pretty self explanatory, but I'm going to go through a couple months just to kind of show you what to do. All right. So, say you are selling products and you're going to sell $5,000 in January. Kind of cool, right? And again, if you're a service, so some of you who are doing apps would be a service, product would be something else. Okay. So we have 5,000 in sales. We're kicking butt. Okay. Cash flow payments to trade supply or cash payments to trade suppliers. So this would be who are you paying for your supplies. So I'm making a really cool wallet for cell phones, right? And this is an Apple one, but all right, this is what I'm making. So I have to pay about $700 to get the material in. Okay. Management draws would be how much are you drawing from the company. So as an owner, you have to eat, right? So how much am I going to get paid? How much am I going to pay myself, right? Well, I'm going to at least need $2,000 out of the company for myself so I can eat, sleep, pay rent, right? This is still super duper low, but for this, it's going to work, all right? Salaries and wages are for other employees. I'm not hiring anyone. I'm making these wallets myself. So that's a big fat zero. Promotional expenses. I'm doing about 200 in advertising. Professional fees, I say 400. I'm working at home. I have no insurance paid. I'm gonna say 100 for the sake of this. Telecommunication would be like cell phone and whatnot. My cell phone bill is about 150, and utility payments. Working from home. My parents are paying for everything, but I'm still going to pay them 150 a month. Just be a good kid. All right. So your total revenue would be 5,000. Cheat here. So it would be 3,700. So then we would take this 5,000 minus this 37,000. So it'd be 1,300. There we go. So I made 1,300 this month. This would be my closing balance. 1,300. Then the next month in February, I would open with 1,300. Okay. So let's say February. I thought that it would be a good month. I thought a lot of people would buy my wallet for Valentine's Day. It didn't happen. Only made 2,500 this month. All right, 2,500. I thought it was more, so I paid 900. I bought a little more materials. I still kept my 2,000. Not hire anyone else, doing it all myself. Keeping my promotion. Legal fees were the same. Everything else was pretty much the same. Let's just say everything was the same. All right. A little extra, so it was 3,900. Well, guys, I lost money this month, right? I'd have lost what, 1,400. All right. So when I go to my cash flow, it'd be negative 1,400. My closing balance would not be negative 1,400 though, right? Because I have 13 going into it, so it would be this plus this, so negative 100. I'm down 100 now. Again, we take this, move it to opening balance, and we do it all over again. What would my cash flow? Where are my sales? What are my disbursements? So you do this all the way to December. All right. I will for now leave this up here. It's on the spreadsheet that you guys will see, but you'll kind of get a gist of what you're doing. Again, these numbers are going to be different for your companies, so don't copy those. Don't copy the revenue. It's going to be whatever is for your company. Okay. But think about it, change it up, and then you'll submit this. So when you go to startup costs, you will do your cash flow. Okay. You'll do your startup, you'll do your cash flow. Both of those will be on the spreadsheet. This spreadsheet you'll make a copy of. You'll make a copy of this, turn this in. Okay. The other part that you will need to turn in will be a revenue model. Okay. So you will need to kind of choose your revenue model that works best for you. And if you go actually, you know what? Don't worry about the revenue model right now. We'll nix this. We'll go over this Friday. Okay. But for right now, I want you to do the startup costs and cash flow projections. Revenue model is pretty simple, but we'll go over that in class because I want to make sure that you guys know the differences between the different types. And that's something that I can explain in a class period that would take forever if I just do a longer video. So do part one, do part two. Go ahead and turn that in when you're done. If not, it's not going to be due till Monday morning, so you guys have some time. And then if you have any questions, don't remotely hesitate to contact me on Canvas. I will get back to you as soon as I can. I'll be around most of the day doing stuff, probably helping my 4 kids with their e-learning, so that'll be fun. But I'm here to help. So hopefully you found this video okay, and the explanations were good. If not, I'm sorry. Just try to do your best. If you have questions, reach out to me and we'll get you taken care of. But I do miss you guys. We'll see you guys hopefully Friday, if not Monday next week. But we'll stay in touch. All right. Take care.